I'm imagining like one fine day NASA will be serving, dhokla in the space. You never know.
We're taking it to the next level. I mean, talking about CX indulging all senses.
So
Now we're taking
CX
it to
in
space.
the space, yeah.
How do you do it in on Moon or Mars?
After this, whatever project I have signed up with Embassy, we spoke to a couple of food scientists, and one thing they mentioned that whatever food they eat up in the space is tasteless. There's no spice, there's no flavor. No spice as in like not chili wala spice, but there's no spice, no flavor.
And
It's
it cannot
very
have moisture.
boring.
Also, you're saying
Yeah, without moisture,
it
that's
has to be
something
without moisture.
which is the science what one need to of course follow because of whatever constraints we have up in the space. So we thought, okay, let's do something Indian because Indian food is flavorful, barring the degree of spiciness with chilies.
Right.
We can create so many things which can be which can be done up in the space.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of CX with Chopra. So today we are going to talk about a multi-sensory customer experience, which is dining experience, which in my view is probably one of the most challenging ones to crack, but it also leaves a long-lasting impression because a memorable dining experience, would engage all your senses, right from the sight of a beautifully plated dish, the aroma of those fresh ingredients, the whole expertly balanced flavors, taste of those flavors, to the sound of the bustling kitchen, and
Yep.
also the texture of a perfectly cooked meal. So dining is a full sensory experience, and to talk about that, talk about the whole how to create those unforgettable dining experiences and then creating those exceptional CX. So we have with us Mr. Dhruv Oberoi, who's the executive chef at the very famous Olive Bar and Kitchen. And you've been associated with Olive Bar and Kitchen for since 2007.
Yes, pretty much. I think it's long association with the whole, the brand and with the AD who's my boss and he's the man with the vision. So yeah, it's almost 15 years, I guess, 15 plus.
Wow. And now you're expanding into new.
Now we are, of course. I think it's a high time for F&B, especially in India, where you have to, if your brand is strong enough, like why not to expand, like in
Of
multiple
course.
cities or in the same city with multiple locations. Yep,
I'm great for customers to have that options,
of
probably in
course.
Gurgaon and somebody's, sitting in Delhi, everybody to have it in like 50-20 minutes vicinity to have that same great experience.
Talking about Gurgaon and Delhi, it's anyway the challenge. So we have got like the brands to Gurgaon from Delhi. So I think yeah, we
Yeah, that is
have
true.
to.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure, I mean, in this whole, I mean, since 2006, you've seen the whole transformation happening in the whole, how the whole culinary space has evolved, and you've excelled at almost, every year. If I see, I've been to Olive so many times, and the whole experience, it has a long-lasting impression on me. So, how do you create that magic, the whole customer experience?
The dining experience and this industry is something which is very very personal. It's very very different in a way because it's an ongoing learning process.
Hmm.
I think if I have an experience of whatever 15 plus year, it doesn't mean that I know everything. So every day, whenever I wake up, I always think, okay, what I'm gonna do today. It's not that I have to run a day-to-day operations or a day-to-day whatever I'm doing in the restaurant. It's like how this day can be more, useful. How it can be, how I can create more innovative things, or how the experience can be better for the customers. So it's an ongoing learning process. It comes with a lot of challenges, of course. It's not an easy peasy
Yeah,
thing
true.
for for folks who thinks that F&B is very glamorous. It looks very glamorous. Of course, I think we are surrounded with a lot of cool people. We are surrounded with the people who love design, who love experience, who love music. But it's a
It
difficult
is.
life. It's a difficult life.
Because
Yeah.
like I said, it's a full sensory experience. So
Yeah, and you're tapping on like all the senses, and every sense is a story of its, and it has its own journey, it has its own learning, it has its own experiences. So yeah, we need to. Even I'm learning about every sense every day. What can be done and how that particular experience can be better.
yeah, because you have to curate, the whole experience from food to presentation to ambience to even, I mean, ambience including the music which is being played to how would a staff interact, how do you train them? So there's so many moving pieces, because typically when, as a customer, if I think of it's basically, okay, it's a great dish. No, it wasn't just the dish. I mean, yes, food takes the top priority.
It's a science,
It's a
like as
science.
you as you said, like today I had a good meal at whatever restaurant, it was a good day. But what goes behind that good day is something one need to understand, especially someone who's running a restaurant or whichever brand, that how that experience was the best or was bad for that particular guest. I think for me, when the guy walks in to the like, for example, the first interaction is a valet, then is your
Yeah.
the receptionist, then is your the server, then is your ambience, then is your table setting, then is your music, then is your light, then of course the food, the drinks. In between, if you have to use the restroom.
Yeah.
Then of course the smell of the restaurant, the lighting of the restaurant, like how each and every sense, you know, should be, should be
Should be
alive
aligned.
in a way that,
It's a delicate thread, right? You have to.
yeah, everything need to be intertwined in a way that it should work. Nothing can be. We should not leave that. Ye chal jayega.
Correct.
Everything need to be perfect. Right?
It has to come out as one experience. It
One
cannot be
experience.
disjointed
Yeah, and
experience.
it's not about the best of the restaurant or it's like a small cafe in the corner. Every eatery, whether it's a small or it's a big, whichever brand it is, they need to follow this. If I'm sitting in a cafe which is like somewhere in Nainital, if it's stinking bad, of course I'll have a bad experience.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter the food is good or bad. Like if the area is stinking, it's bad. If the music is loud, it's bad. So everything one should think like it need to be on point.
Interesting, because I also want to talk about that, how the whole customer experience, or rather customer expectations, have evolved over the years. Because how I am looking at is it also a reflection of, let's say, how India has evolved over the years as well? I mean, for example, if you look at from 1990s, the whole globalization happened, and in that globalization you saw big QSR giants like McDonald's, Pizza Hut coming to India, we getting exposed to new flavors, new types of cuisines, and then came a time where, probably in 2000, where there was a rise of fine dining experience, where people had that thing that they can go ahead and spend on those luxury experiences. We saw the urbanization happening, the appreciation of those fine dining, in my view, probably started
Yeah.
that. And then maybe then 2010 onwards, we started seeing the whole fusion of cuisines which started
I would say
kicking in.
rather confusion.
or, or confusion. Great point. Yeah, where it was more about combining Indian flavors with global techniques, where chefs used to experiment with, do different presentations and different techniques. And now probably is an era where I've read some of your articles as well, where you talk about that, how do we create global flavors with local ingredients.
So yes, I think over the period of time, especially in last whatever 10, 12 years, everything has evolved and changed. I think India is changing as a country.
Yeah.
And thanks to social media, thanks to our travel experiences, thanks to the new brands which have entered the market, I think it has changed dramatically. Like people know everything in a right way, in a wrong way, whatever. Because how we take things, that's very personal, it's very individual. So that's a different discussion altogether. Like how people
Right.
think about that brand or that particular thing. Talking about the fine dine, like when fine dining came to India, it was very fine, like, for the people because we're not used to it. Like, for us, dining experience is a thali, like at home, when you get a thali with like 10 things in it, that's the max what one can expect out of a good dinner or a good meal wherever in India. But that thing is changed by the fine dining experienced restaurant which entered the market, where they have shown us how to eat multi-course meals, like
Right.
like from 3 course to 10 course to 15 course. And that's a different experience where people now, because they have traveled a lot, they have seen a lot, they wanted to experience that in India. And thankfully, I think it's still growing. Like people still say that fine dine is gone. I think it's almost 10 years that fine dine is still evolving, but with different references, with different style,
Right.
with different like with different emotions. Like
Hmm.
I can create a fine dine experience with just 2 course, and maybe one doesn't create that experience with 15 course. It
True.
completely depends on that individual, that how you create that experience, right? Again, we are
Hmm.
coming back to that experiential dining. You can give a great experience with just 2 to 3 course within a span of whatever
Right.
45 minutes to an hour or so, or you'll not be able to create that impact with 3 hour dinner or 3 hour whatever multi-course dinner. So one need to be very mindful and careful of what they are putting out. Like
Hmm.
that's why I keep telling to my chefs and the fellow entrepreneurs, you need to be very mindful of the cuisine what we are picking up,
Hmm.
the ingredients what you are using, the recipes what you're trying to showcase. Everything should interrelate. Everything should make sense.
Right.
It will not work if it doesn't make sense. Like a lot of fine dining restaurant I've seen, they're just doing things just for the sake of it. Just a dish which is well presented is not fine dining. Fine dining means that how much finesse you're adding into that one particular experience, in that one particular recipe, in that one particular dish, how much research you have done for that particular thing what
Hmm.
you're serving. That make absolute sense, and that was actually my reference when I did this, what we call it a glocal cuisine, though I hate this word fusion, which is actually very confusing for all of us.
That is true.
And I just tried to create something which is very unique in a way, where we uh, try to grab a recipe which is very authentic, but done with like our own ingredient.
Hmm.
Like the biggest example for me is this a little salad what I do at Olive is the amla salad. And by saying that I'm serving an amla salad, it might sound, very Indian. But when you eat that particular salad, it's not Indian at all.
Right.
It's very, very European. It's very, very international.
I can vouch for it. I try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. I think, yeah, that was,
Yeah.
you've tried that last time. But yeah, that particular recipe took me around, what, 1 year to perfect it,
Hmm.
which is a lot of time if you think, a restaurant which serves around 60 to 70 dishes, if every dish will take an year, where you will go, but that's the way. That's
Hmm.
how, you create things. You need to do a lot of research, you need to do a lot of trials, you need to taste that dish back to back again and again with different set of people to understand where you are going, whether you're
Hmm.
going on the right direction, whether people will understand that or not. So yeah, so that's the thing. So yeah, research and development is the key for everything what you do. You need to know your ingredients if you're trying to create a concept like this,
Hmm.
which is the glocal, which means global recipes with the local ingredients. So
Interesting.
thorough knowledge is important. You need to know what you're doing. You need to to test that recipe with couple of your mates, your friends, your guests, to understand where you're going wrong. Maybe that recipe works for me, but maybe not for you.
Right.
So the more you try those recipes with different people, the more you know about where you're exactly going.
And like you're saying, it's important to be authentic to the whole process,
It need to be authentic.
right?
Yeah, it
From
can be unique.
ingredients to the theme of the restaurant, or
Yeah,
yeah.
like I remember, like the first tasting I did with AD, like he freaked out. He
Mhm.
just mentioned, "What the hell are you doing with the restaurant? How could you do amla in a European restaurant?" Then of course I told him, "Sir, hold on, let's
Yeah.
have a taste and then let's talk." And
Yeah.
ever since, that's his favorite salad. So that's what I'm saying. Like you need to know that how you need to use that ingredient. Your ingredient is the tool. Now it's up to you how you need to use your tool. You can have a nuclear bomb, whether you
Right.
want to blow your own country or blow the enemy. That's something that completely depends on you. So yeah,
No, but a very, very interesting point, because I tried that salad and it hits you differently because
yeah,
you, I mean, you can relate to the whole taste of amla,
correct.
but in a very different way. So it's very authentic. It's the new experience, that the kind of experience you would go out to, have a meal for. Yeah, great point. But then also, while curating, let's say, a menu, how important is it to be also inclusive? I mean, now you see people with different taste palettes, vegans. There's so many different preferences people would have. Is it a big challenge then to cater to different segments of audience and yet be authentic?
You can be authentic. I know it's a huge challenge. I think not only in India and worldwide, like whichever restaurant are trying to cater to all sort of people with different allergies, with different dietary restrictions. Like how we do menus, how we design menu is in a way that we want to cater to everyone. There should be everything for everyone in the menu. Because, for example, I'm running a restaurant which is around, we cater to good 200 people every day.
Yeah.
And for me, I think it will be very, not for me, for the restaurant or for the business, it's very challenging if your menu is very limited. Of course, we can't say no to everyone. At the same time, we can't say yes to everyone. But there should be something for, for everyone to experience.
Right.
So menu has all the options. Menu should have all the options. But you can't be very rigid, especially in a country like India, where you're telling guests, this is something I'm cooking and that's it. That's the only thing which you will get. That's very rude, and that's something which is not. It's not hospitality. If you're running a hospitality segment, it means that you are welcoming everyone. Having said that, there will be challenges. There will be set of people like. Of course, every day it happens at Olive that people still come and ask for a butter chicken. Of course, we can't do that. But if the people have different preferences, then that's something which we need to consider while,
Yeah.
designing the whole menu. That there's a segment who loves vegan. There's a segment who loves healthy version of things. There's a segment who want to indulge in the recipes which is high on cheese, high on cholesterol, high on carbs. It's fine.
Right.
It's not the entire menu will be very healthy. It should have a balance of everything, for that matter.
Interesting, Pagam, because in one of the conversations, so typically if you look at the marketing which happens, right, they would do customer profiling.
Yeah.
They would create a customer personas. This is a persona of the person, of your target audience. You'll create your campaign, everything around that. But in my view, that typically doesn't work. For example, that persona could be, let's say, somebody who's very healthy, goes to, works out 5 days in a week. So you'll think of all the nutritious food, health conscious person, all of that, and you'll probably target that user. But it's the same user who'll probably have a cheat day, will also have a quick meal, because he's busy at work, so he'll order Chinese, at night because he's busy at work, that doesn't have time to cook. So that same person is actually 5 different personas. So the whole campaigning fails then.
Dual personalities.
Dual
Like,
personalities.
people have that.
Right. And that's where we're now talking about those moments. So what are those moments which are there in people's life, and how we can, as brands, capture those moments?
Especially in the country like ours, like India, like because we are still learning, those the whole. I think we're experiencing luxury in a very different way. We are very confused. If I have to just divide the cities, like which understand food or they don't understand food, is like Delhi is a very confusing market. I'm a Delhiite, I'm Punjabi. I'm telling this, I keep telling this to everyone that Delhi is a confused market, followed by Bangalore is the market which loves experimentation. So is Bombay. For me, I think if I have to count, for me it's Bangalore, Bombay, and then Delhi. So creating menus in these three cities is actually is very challenging. You need to understand, whom you're catering to. Like you mentioned that people are very confused about their own dietary preferences. Like if today I'm feeling like having healthy, maybe tomorrow I will go and have this, the very indulgent butter chicken. But one fine day, no, I will avoid cream, I will avoid gluten, I will avoid this and that. So for me, the only option is just keep everything for everyone. Like that's why the menu will have a very indulgent something which is loaded with cream and carb. Also, the menu will have something which is no gluten, no dairy, no sugar, all the no's in the menu. So because I read the market, I know how Delhiites are. So the
And you've
only
seen it
option
over
for me is
so
like
many years.
you have to keep this options for them. And
It's a very
yeah.
interesting perspective about
It
Delhi,
is, but
Bombay,
it's very
Bangalore.
confusing at the same time. I
Or let's
know
say someplace like a Goa, would, let's say, a travel destination like Goa. Now I am from Delhi, and I can totally resonate to what you're saying. One day I would want to have like all the sinful things, I would want to indulge in, and the other day probably I just want to come out of that guilt and probably have, next 5 days probably I'll have the most nutritious food. But
which is right in a way.
which is right.
I'm not saying that
That's-
it's bad. Like
no, it's fine. But I'm saying different nuances. Like you're saying Bangalore is different, or a
Yeah.
Bombay customer
no,
expectation.
the
is
only
different.
difference what I feel is like how you communicate. Like in the Delhi, in the restaurant in Delhi, people will come and say, "No, I am allergic to lactose, but I'm still okay having butter." My point is, just be very clear to the chef or the whom you're talking to in a restaurant ki dude, I want to avoid, because today I don't want to feel heavy. I'm just avoiding carbs and fat. Give me something else. But don't just scare the chef, because the moment you mention this, I'm gluten allergic, it's a different definition altogether.
Correct.
If somebody is gluten allergic, they can't have a food in a restaurant which is serving anything with gluten, because who are
Right.
allergic, they are highly allergic.
Right,
It's
right.
very
And
fatal in
it's
a
a very
way.
sensitive
It's a very sensitive thing.
topic. Huh.
But people don't do that. They just say, I am allergic, just for the sake of it. Be very clear in your conversation. Today, I'm just avoiding gluten, because yesterday I
That's a
had a very
different connotation. Yeah.
indulging, meal. But today I just want to I want to eat light. So that communication, that conversation need to be very, very clear, from the guest side or from the server side, whichever it is. That's why I keep telling our servers, like, be very specific. Ma'am, are you allergic, or you're just avoiding gluten or dairy or, whatever it is. So, but the same thing happened in a very cool way in Bombay and Bangalore. The people are they will tell you, what they exactly want and what they don't want and why they are not eating it. But Delhi things are very different. Like, because it's trending, I'm avoiding gluten because all the aunties on the table are not eating gluten.
Right.
I will also not eat gluten. But
Very
that's not the
interesting
case.
on the whole experience part. That's how
It's
you
more.
train your
It's like a
staff.
fashion
That,
statement.
it's
I'm
fad.
gluten allergic, but I'm okay having bread. Which is
Correct.
made
Yeah.
out of wheat. So Delhi is more about that. Like, if it's more like a trend. Like,
And even I got confused after a point reading about all these things. Right. I was like, should I stop thinking about it? I mean, I was doing fine. I was eating outside. I was probably fine because you start thinking, then psychologically things happen in your body as well. Right. It's like
That's a different discussion altogether. Like, like personally, I follow a lot of. I don't follow any diet, but the different articles come different in different days. Like, one article will say, okay, gluten is great. The other article say gluten is great, but it need to be well processed. For example, the simple bread toast is not fine, but sourdough toast is fine. Both are made with wheat, but one is
right.
processed with whatever the whole cultures and all. So that is okay. So that's a different discussion when you're trying to understand food, what you need to consume. Like, sugar is fine, sugar is not fine, but jaggery is okay.
But that's what I get confused. That is lack of information better,
It's
or it's good to be aware about so many things.
I would say forget about articles. Just eat what you like,
What you
what your
like.
heart says. Just eat
Right.
that. Like, yeah.
And that draws to an interesting point on the whole personalization aspect, because like you're saying, there are about 200 guests who come every day, and 2 to 3 meals in a day. You have to manage that scale,
Yeah.
yet have that level of personalization. Like you're saying, somebody could have certain preferences. They're probably avoiding, let's say, gluten, or they want things in a certain way. So how do you draw that balance? Because let's say the chef in the kitchen, as much as you would want to personalize everything, there's a time cost attached to it as well. So I'm sure it's a very tricky balance for you to.
It is difficult for sure. Like, the personalization. When you start this topic, I think it will just go on. Like, you
It's
can't.
endless.
It's endless. Yeah, it means, like, it's very difficult to personalize everything. But as a chef, as an entrepreneur, you need to predict few things that, okay, now this is trending because you're traveling a lot, you
So
have your own
anticipate
friend
certain
circle.
questions
You
or
need to anticipate
preferences.
few things like what people are actually avoiding and what are the possibilities that they will ask for. It's better just anticipate that, put everything on the menu and get on with it, especially when you're running a restaurant which is catering to 200 odd people.
Right.
If you're running a restaurant which is very, very specialized, just 20-seater restaurant, every guest has its own preference. They can come and talk to the chef, and chef can also accommodate the, whatever changes that particular guest like. That can be done, but that should have a different set of, restaurant, or that will have a different concept altogether. But the best thing is just anticipate what people want. Just make sure add that into your menu, and then you're sorted. Then everything is smooth in a way. Then of course the only thing left is like how you educate your team, who are handling
Right.
the front. They need to know that what are the problems they can face while talking to the customers. Like, if somebody is saying, I'm allergic to salt, what will you do? Because there's so
Correct.
many recipes. Every recipe has a salt in it. So that is that completely depends on the training. Like how you train your team.
And that makes,
after
I think, a lot of difference. Like you just explained that if somebody comes and asks that, are you allergic to gluten or are you avoiding?
avoiding
Now
it.
that
Yeah.
gives me clarity as well. And I can share that. So it makes it
Exactly.
easier both ways.
And that's also very difficult because the kind of team you're dealing with is something which is very like India's service industry is a little weak, because we don't get good servers, we don't get good waiters because there's a different reason for it. Like we don't respect this trade. And being a chef is a great, is a great, what do you say? Chef is cool, but server is not. When you go abroad, it's a different ball game. The
Right.
servers also takes, that
There's this
pride to
pride, sense of
serve. Yeah,
pride.
for them, work is work, but India is completely different. So that's why you don't get good set of people who can, communicate well and who have that kind of a confidence. Like tomorrow, if a chef goes out, guests will say, "Okay, chef has come out, and I can also, open my heart to the chef." But the same guest will not open, his or her heart to a server because of whatever lack of confidence they find in the servers. So
So I think in that way, what culture you have in your restaurant makes a whole lot of difference,
yes,
right?
so
How
you have
empowered that
to
server feel.
absolutely, yeah.
It's instill that pride in them.
We have to tell them,
Exactly.
like today or tomorrow, it's not AD Singh, it's not Dhruv, it's like it's you who's running the restaurant, who's running the
Right.
show. So
And
you
I mean,
have
as
to
a customer,
empower
I can
them.
see it as well, to be honest. Like, you see that confidence, the smile with which somebody would cater to you, a server. You see
That
that
makes
they are in a
that makes a
comfort
hell lot of
space.
difference. Yeah,
I'm in a comfortable spot, and I can totally rely on the recommendation. And those are
yeah.
the kind of places that you'll open up and say, give me recommendation, hit me up with what you think I should have.
And then you're very comfortable talking to that server. Like,
Right.
like I really don't want this. Then if the server is underconfident, you might not even talk to him. Then you immediately, tell him or her that we call you chef. Because then you're
Correct.
more
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
comfortable talking to chef than a server. So that plays a very important role, like how
Right.
you teach your, the front of the house, how you handhold them. Uh, you need to empower them,
Right.
with
The culture
whatever
is
it is.
important.
Yeah,
Because that's a very important element of CX. Because if you're saying call the
absolutely. Yeah,
chef,
absolutely.
I think you've already missed a point somewhere. Idly.
Yes.
Idly. Although some people would still want to do that out of habit. That's a separate thing. But coming to the point of, I mean, very interesting topic that my previous guest talked about, that the memory of the experience
Oh yes.
is more important than the experience itself. Right. I mean, for example, I would choose a restaurant which has a positive recall in my mind of that experience over, let's say, something else. Like the example you talked about, let's say, if it's a restaurant in Nainital, which is great, food was great, but it was stinking.
Yeah.
Although the food was great, I enjoyed that food, but the memory of that experience is bad in my head, which ruins it.
Yeah, it's lot to do. Yeah, that's so memory makes experience, and before memory, that communication need to be very clear. For example, this example of this restaurant in Nainital, people told me before going there, it's a great restaurant. You must go for ambience, amazing food, amazing atmosphere, etc., etc. Then I have made some sort of a picture in my mind. So that is like a first thing, the communication, whatever which
Right.
whosoever has told me that okay, it's a great restaurant, I must go and have a great meal, whether it's lunch or dinner.
Right.
And now entering to the restaurant, they have made bad memories. Like
Correct.
they've made bad experience, which will end up into a bad memory, right? Like that experience counts. Like communication is step number one. Step number two is the experience. Now experience you can divide into whatever four parts, whether it's your ambience, lighting, blah blah blah. That need to be ticked, and that makes a perfect memory.
Correct. And now with so much competition, I was reading one of the Gartner's survey that even your most loyal customers, repeat customers, 1 in 3 of them will switch to another competitor with after just one bad experience.
Yes.
So the cost of bad experience is very high. So it's very important that even though, let's say, something has happened, because obviously you're running the show live every day, it's not easy. I mean, you can't expect an ideal day every day. There are going to be glitches, there
There
are going
will
to
be
be
bad day,
misses,
of
there will be
course.
bad
Yeah.
days, there will be things which suddenly happened, nobody anticipated. But then the memory of that experience is important. So how you turn it around towards the end. So do you have any like those horror stories where you save the day? Because it's very important to have a positive memory to turn around the experience. And even if there's a positive memory, for example, if let's say my credit card gets stolen and I'm on phone for 3 hours trying to resolve that, it's a bad experience for me. But after at the end of 3 hours, if my bank is able to, let's say, cancel my card, issue me a new card, and do it a very, everything that I want, it's a positive memory in my head. Although the experience was
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah.
So how do you do that, or any
I think I
examples?
haven't converted. I think it's a very funny story that I haven't converted a person's bad day into a good day, but I think it's completely other way out. A good day became a bad day because of because that particular customer was so that particular customer is so used to me, like,
Acha,
you know,
okay.
I used to personalize it. Like, not every customer, like the customer like with whom I have a good rapport, like they always come and they call me and Dhruv, I'm coming, let's catch up, I'm gonna have a meal, blah blah blah. So one fine day I was not there, and the guest arrived, like, and she had such a bad experience because I was not there and the same experience was not being made. And she just kept calling and she just gave me the stinker, like, what the hell, you can't do this. And I was feeling bad because I was not even there. Then I realized that, if you overindulge or if, like, in a way, I actually handicapped the team
Right.
because I made that customer so used to me. And if I'm not there, if that customer comes, then they will expect the same kind of experience. That day I realized that I need to stop this. Rather, I need to spend time with my team, whether the team of chefs or team of servers, that you need to treat every customer in the same way. Make sure you don't have this, like with one customer you are doing great and with other customer you're just, ignoring him or her.
Or can you
So
have like
that's
10 Dhruvs in the restaurant
yeah,
at
you
the
can't
same
have
time?
10 roofs in a restaurant. So that day I realized, okay, better you put a system, you just, uh, tell the team that, whether it's A customer, B customer, C customer, you need to treat them, equally. So that thing should not happen, like with one customer I'm doing great and with the second customer, like, okay, I can ignore him or her. So that's a very different kind of a story with this
So have you
particular
also had
client.
any celebrity encounters?
That keeps happening, but I'm not like that. Like a
No, but then their expectations very different, as in, or
yeah, you
because I'm very,
think
as a listener,
like
I'm very
Sara Ali
intrigued to
Khan
use.
was like amazing. Like she was very. She really wants to talk. She anyway she talks a lot. Like, but she talks sense, of course. She wanted to talk about the food, what you serve, what ingredients do you have, and that was quite like
Oh wow,
that
nice.
was good experience with her.
Yeah.
And
And
whenever
she's
she
very much
comes
into
back,
fitness. I keep seeing her on Instagram.
well, because the celebrity, whatever diet they follow, is very different. It's very, like she will have lobster, but with just only butter. I said, what the hell? Like, why you'll have fat with just protein?
Huh.
But she will mention, okay, this is something my dietitian has asked me for. So that's a
That
different
comes to
story with
another fad, which I don't know if it's a fad or thing. Coffee with ghee. Is it even a
ghee is
thing?
great, but
Is it even a
coffee
thing?
and
Because I've
ghee.
seen a lot of celebrities talk about that.
I would say just better you have ghee in the morning. With that, I know it has, but why you want to spoil your coffee?
Yeah.
Like my coffee need to be coffee, not with ghee, please. Ghee is good with roti, etc., etc. But on its own, it's great as whatever medicinal property it has, but not with coffee.
But do celebrities come with like, it's a different
No,
challenge,
they
that
don't
how
do
do you
that. They don't do that. I
person?
think,
Achha,
not the weird ones. The Sara Ali Khan, this one encounter happened where she asked for like lobster with extra butter and just some veggies. But on the other side, she loved to talk. She loved to talk about the about yourself, like chef, where are you from, and all of that.
which is great. You
And
know the person, then it's easier for you to exactly
yeah,
give, what they want.
so I think celebrity spotting is nothing. I think it should not put you in a spot that you have to treat that celebrity in a different way. Same like as you treat any other guest. Like
Yeah.
Sushmita Sen was amazing, because she's very humble. Like I didn't have a very weird encounter with celebrity who was very rude or something. Yeah, nothing of that sort.
Because, like you're saying, they would have a particular dietary restriction, not if not a plan.
But also on the other side, they will come to Olive just to indulge them, for the
That is true.
indulgence. Like they can have whatever. On a cheat day,
I
they
can
will come
say
to
it with
Olive.
the
On the other
dessert menu
days,
that you have,
oh
so I
yeah,
can say that.
that's
I read that you yourself have a
that's my
sweet tooth.
personal thing that I love everything sweet. So I have like good 12 desserts. Now I think I've reduced it down to whatever 8. But maybe in the new winter menu, we'll be just pushing that, yeah, to
So
12
do
or
you also
something.
get some of those unexpected inspirations of creating a dish? Let's say you've heard a song or had a weird dream or something like that, and you
This
think of,
dream is yes, like many
or it
times I
happens?
yeah, a lot of time. No, for me, most of the time, what happens with me, for example, I'm standing in the kitchen. If the two ingredients are next to each other, then I'll think of a dish. And it happened with me a lot of time. Like, for example, there's a, what was that dish? There was a ice cream and there was a curry. So I thought, okay, let's do curry ice cream, but that was too experimental. Then I literally tried. It didn't work out though, but it happens. I think, yeah, such instances, I think it's a lot. For
But if
example,
you
like,
keep trying all these things, I mean, do your taste buds go for a toss after a time that you
no, I
stop
try
appreciating
with.
things because you've tasted so many weird
So
or different
I don't try things alone. I have like my set of chefs who,
so everybody goes
well
through it.
traveled, who know about the food, and I take their opinions very strongly. Of course, it's not only me who decides everything. It's like my team of chefs who decides. We decide it together. Like if something is really out of the park, then the chef will tell me, no, chef, this is not working out. There's too much to do.
Yeah.
Let's come down. नीचे आ जाओ थोड़ा सा.
Right. It's
Okay,
great.
ठीक है,
Again,
okay.
talk speaks about the culture, which people, I
Yeah,
think it's underrated, but it's very important.
it's important.
It's
Like
not about
you're.
that you just open a new franchisee of a restaurant or a bar and you give it to somebody to run it. No, it has to has
It
that,
need to have that
the
personal
vibe and the
touch with
theme.
the team. Like it's very important to understand where they are coming from. What's their skill set, what they are thinking,
Right.
how they design a dish. So that's something which you need to
And like we were
one need to
talking, like one has
inculcate
to
in
be
the.
involved in the whole process. It
Absolutely,
cannot be
absolutely.
just take a template, replicate it. No, it cannot happen
So
like
I don't do menu alone. I think it's always with the team. For me, I think team is the key. Without team, you can't run a show. Not
that.
at
And they feel
all.
empowered as well, right? To
Yes.
represent then in
I
front
feel
of
more
guests.
confident, me
Right.
doing a menu, me stepping into a kitchen alone. I think I still feel okay. ठीक है, I
Right.
can do it for one guest, but you need to figure out that you need to
Correct.
cook for like 200 guests. For that, of course, you need a very very strong team who's just like you. You know.
Talking about unexpected things now, when you're coming to the studio, you spoke about that how this whole reverse cultural
Oh
integration
yes.
is happening now. People in US want to make Indian dishes with their local ingredients.
So yes,
Talk
I
about
think
that.
now I think I'll be doing an event with of course the U.S. Embassy for this new collaboration which happened between NASA and ISRO. There's a new space collaboration. So they asked me to create a like an experience like how we can create something for the space collaboration. So I thought, okay, let's plan something Indian with the US ingredients where we want to bond, we really want to show the bond, between the two countries. And then yeah, we have planned couple of things. I think I'll give you a few examples. One, I think we are doing a dhokla. So it's actually I think thinking little out of the box where
Right.
I'm imagining like one fine day NASA will be serving dhokla in the space. You never know.
We're taking it to the next level. I mean, talking about CX indulging all senses.
So
Now we're taking
CX
it
in
into
the
space.
space, yeah.
How do you do it in on Moon or Mars?
After
Wow.
talking to this couple of food scientists, like after this whatever project I have signed up with the embassy, we spoke to a couple of food scientists, and one thing they mentioned that whatever food they eat up in the space is tasteless. There's no spice, there's no flavor, no spice as in like not chili wala spice, but there's no spice, no flavor.
And
It's
it cannot
very
have moisture.
boring.
Also, you're saying
Yeah, without moisture,
it
that's
has to be
something
without
which
moisture.
is the science what one need to of course follow because of whatever constraints we have up in the space. So we thought, okay, let's do something Indian because Indian food is flavorful, barring the degree of spiciness with chilies.
Right.
We can create so many things which can be which can be done up in the space. First, I thought let's do amla. Then I thought no. I think people any which way call me that I'm obsessed with amla. Then
We
again,
have to find local amla in US.
yeah, you can't do that. You
Right.
can't find a local amla in US. But we are still planning to do on something with dhokla. It's a dhokla chaat made with US blueberries, and we are
Wow.
trying to do a kulfi which is made with Philadelphia cream cheese and US pistachios. So let's see. I
Wow.
think I'm still yet to try.
And to take it to space.
And
Idea
to
is
the
that.
space.
Without moisture.
Without moisture, of course, there's a different technique. What these guys follow is the freeze drying technique, which is a different technique what was created by NASA for the space. So I'm taking that technique and blending that with the Indian food. Let's see how that turns out.
I'm sure
I
a lot
hope.
of entrepreneurs are thinking of opening a restaurant.
Up in the space, any
Up in
which
the
way.
space.
What's this guy's name? The Tesla guy.
Yeah, Elon Musk. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Elon is anyways trying like to do like a space tourism or something. So maybe they can pack little dhokla on the way up in the space.
That'll be fun.
Dhokla in the space, yeah.
Chart counters, in the space.
We have to collaborate with Haldiram for that.
Right.
Haldiram up in the moon.
But that's quite unexpected. That's quite
You never know.
very interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like it's the future.
It's the future. That any which way, I think you can't live in the earth. We any which have ruined so many things up here. Now
But
it's
it's
time to move.
interesting that how technology has now obviously shaping up how food is being cooked or served or so many things,
Yep.
around that. Uh, do you also look at data or analytics in some way, or that is one area you feel that probably as an industry we need to focus more on?
So now technology has taken over in a good or bad, whatever way. But definitely technology can be used in a positive way for the restaurant business to enhance the customer experience, of course. Like I remember the days, it's not new, I think few years back, I think we are still haven't, fine-tuned that particular process where when you take a reservations, like there's a technology that tells you that this customer, when he visited last time, has eaten this and he liked it. This is a very simple math. But if we use this particular tool very strongly, then you will definitely enhance the whole customer experience.
Right.
Then, if I'm serving to that customer, like for example, the customer walked into the restaurant second time or third time, then the receptionist will tell the server this gentleman was there last time, and he or she has eaten this particular thing and he liked it. Now you imagine you
Lobster
walked
with
in,
butter,
yeah, and
something.
I'll tell you, okay, Mr. Chopra, welcome to this restaurant, and would you like to try your lobster which you ordered last time? Then as a customer, you will feel little, okay, wow, this guy
Yeah.
knows what I like. So that can still, improve that customer experience, and that customer feel little
And
privileged.
you can
Like
do personalization at scale then.
that will happen easily. That
Easily.
that as a server, I know that this particular gentleman loves lobster, and maybe I'll check with chef. If you can do the same lobster for him again. So it's a little more personalized any which ways, right? And so you can definitely use this
And
tool
that
in a
dependency
big way.
on Dhruv Oberoi will probably reduce that.
Then you don't need Dhruv Oberoi, because the Dhruv
Everybody
Oberoi has
knows.
done his job last time, but that computer has noted that down, that this man was
The whole place knows what you want.
yeah,
Then in
what
a
this
way.
guy want. Then you don't need
Right.
Dhruv. Then you simply just check with this gentleman that this is something which you
Basic, like,
liked.
asking
Yeah.
you want sparkling water or normal water. If somebody
Yeah.
always has sparkling water, don't ask, just put it on the table. Then.
I think we have
But
forgotten this technique. This technology was very much was inbuilt in the restaurant system, but I think no one uses
the POS system.
with the POS system, but no one use it to that level. We should definitely use
So
it.
that
And
integration needs to happen.
yeah,
That-
that integration between the
how do
teams
we
need to
pass on that
happen.
information
Yeah.
to the staff, to server?
No, everything is tech. Like you have tabs, you have
Right, absolutely.
with every server, and it should come there. Like this particular guy visited you last
And
time,
especially if
then,
let's say 90% of the people do reservations and come, so you already
mostly,
know
yes, mostly.
information about them. I mean, you know that unique identifier, either their phone number or even the name. So at least somebody can start looking at.
This happens in West. Like one restaurant I visited, I think in Europe, like some Michelin star. That guy knew that I was a chef, what was my name, what I
Wow.
like, because the receptionist. So it's their job. Like if I make the reservation, so they will check on the number, they check on my name, on Instagram, Facebook, or web, or LinkedIn, whatever, and they will have a little note, on in front of my name, and the same note will go to the chef, and to the server, and to the mixologist, and to the sommelier. Then everybody knows that this gentleman who has walked in is a chef in India, works in this restaurant, run this particular cuisine, and he liked this. Whatever information is there on the web,
Interesting.
and this guy will just pull that in and then make a note out of it. So it's a level of
But
personalization.
but it's a very interesting dynamic as well about personalization and being slightly spooky, getting into somebody's
Yeah.
privacy.
That's
But that's also with different generations, it's different. For example, for millennials, probably like us,
It will be cool. It will be okay. But
It might not be that
not?
cool or okay. For example, if my parents, they would probably freak out. How does this guy know about me? Let's say. For us, because we've seen how things are happening, but I would still be a bit itchy giving my phone number away or giving my personal information. Although I know it's going to come back and give me a better personal experience. But if you talk about Gen Zs, they've never not had the internet. They've always had these things. So for them, personalization is not a new experience.
For them, I think it should any which way happen. It should happen. Like
Personalization हर कोई करता है, right? Why are they not doing it?
I think I have a different view on it. Like I think for millennials, it will be fine, but Gen Z, they are loners. Like they might hate it. Like why the hell are you entering my life? 'Cause I know, like I have so many Gen Z friends. Like they don't want anyone to enter their life. From their own parents. Like that's why I say like millennials are
It's
still
more of the
okay,
individualistic,
ठीक है. Yeah.
in their own space.
Yeah, they are very much into their own space. They don't want any interference in whatever way. But yeah, having said that,
It's
like it's
interesting.
a little spooky, and then they might misuse the whole information. But I'm sure this restaurant they must have done, to just enhance the whole experience.
I'm
And
sure, yeah.
Which I enjoyed, because when you're sitting in a restaurant, when person greets you with your name, and that person knows about you, and you feel okay, I'm something.
Right, but and it has
It's
to
like
go
massaging my ego in some
Yeah.
way, like wow.
It's already like you have a brown.
And if you're going out with your girlfriend, and then you feel okay, see, this guy knows me.
knows me, yeah,
I'm a known figure, like
definitely will increase the average order value.
Absolutely.
But it's now also interesting that how some of these aggregators, like Zomato for that matter, they're bringing the whole data and analytics part as well. Like for example, I was reading in the morning that Zomato has a menu score as well. So they'll give you a score in terms of how good your menu is and help you curate that menu from a design perspective, from a navigation perspective, how is it to navigate for users, and also from what are the things which are there in the menu, and probably suggest you that, because they know all the information about, let's say, a particular area, let's say in Gurgaon, this particular area, what people order, at what time of the day, at what season of the year. They have all that
Full
information.
study, yeah.
So they can literally come and help you curate your own menu. For example, if you select a cuisine and if you select an area, they can give you all the recommendations. This is what people will order, or this is what their preferences are. So it's very interesting that how I think it's a great thing that these aggregators are now bringing that forward and passing it more like they're passing it more like a service.
Yeah, it's a different game. I
It's a
think,
different
yeah,
game
that's
altogether, because
completely,
at the restaurant you probably would know only about your restaurant, but like I said, it's the same consumer who's also going to another restaurant, other time of the day. For example, the morning coffee I'll have somewhere else. I'll go to an Olive on the weekend, or if there's an occasion, or where I want to indulge in a particular thing, or I want to go.
It's good. I feel this technology-driven restaurant is good for like not certain. It's good for masses, but not for experiential restaurants. Like it's good for QSRs. Like like for example,
Absolutely,
if you have opened something, for example, at 32nd Avenue, then that a lot of youngsters are staying around. There's a Google office. Then like for example, a great coffee menu will do, a good sandwich menu will do, because all youngsters love that.
Right.
But if you're opening an experiential restaurant, then it might not help, because that's something which that particular restaurateur or chef need to drive it. Like what's his or her vision, like for that restaurant. Yeah, it's good for like certain models, but like not for everything. But for sure, they're doing a great job. Like every day in my screen, like they have it's a very funny way of hey Dhruv, I know you're hungry for pani puris. Why don't you order it? It's a great marketing thing.
Right.
That for sure they're on on point.
Those little nudges, right?
Yeah, like this Zomato will, hey, the weather is nice. How about a sandwich?
Right.
So I really like that whole pun. Like it's very
Correct.
personalized in a way. I think it always pops up with your name. Hey Dhruv, it's beautiful weather. Why? How about a burger? Then now I'm tempted. Now I want to have a burger.
Right.
Because that it tickles my mind in some way. So in that way, that I think they're doing a great job. But when you talk about the experiential restaurant, the whole experience-driven brands, I think that should be a little more personalized. That should be like like a person-driven
But
thing.
for experiential restaurant, then how do you measure success then? Because it's slightly tricky. It's not.
Absolutely,
It's not like a day wise how much sales happen. Let's say, for example, probably for a QSR like a McDonald's, KFC, I can still imagine to a
That's
certain
much more
level.
easier to calculate and put a
Easy to
brand.
calculate or
Yeah.
fix patterns that weekend sales would be like this, or you see those trends.
It's a gamble, I would say. For
So how do you measure
more than a
that?
gamble, it need to be. You need to study the market well. You need to understand that what this particular generation like, or what is your target audience, whether it's like a Gen Z or a millennial, or maybe the older set of people. So that study need to be done in a way where you create that brand accordingly, right? And after that, it's a gamble. You never know. I think I would say 30% it's a gamble, and maybe 70% if it's done right, it will do well. You need to tick all the boxes. The guy who is opening a brand should be aware of each and every angle of the business, starting from marketing to
Right.
what the product is in terms of food, in terms of beverage, how the restaurant looks like, what's the location like, what's the design like, how's the
Right.
lighting, how's the music. There's so many the angle to it. That study need to be done. That need to be made well or whatever, and then of course then it's a gamble. But I
So you
think
have to
most
have
of
a.
them
So
it
you're
will do
saying
well.
basically we need to have a long-term view of how do you measure
You
success.
need to,
You
yeah,
can't
literally,
have
you need
that.
to be visionary. You
Right.
need to know like what's coming next, and then tap on that immediately. QSRs are easy. That of course, like as you said, that Zomato can calculate and tell you that let's open a burger joint here, it will
Correct.
run, or do a sandwich shop, it will run. But when you do a fine dining experience, that's a little challenging thing. That a person need to have that kind of an experience. He should be doing a proper R&D before he opens that.
Correct. And have a bullish view of it that you have
Yes,
to let it settle in with people to understand.
and you have to give time.
You have to give time.
Yeah, you can't just generate revenue in like next 6 months. You have to settle, settle down, spread the word in a way, work on your product, whatever it is, and then give some time to work. And that's what the problem is. People don't have time and
People don't have
patience.
time. And just coming to the next question or a segment, where you see a lot of shifts happening, like
Yeah.
especially after pandemic, where people started cooking at home, and people started building some of those, those skills. I would say, for example, now making cocktails at home is a thing. At
Baking
part.
and baking is easy now at home.
Right. I mean, so people love doing that, at home. It's like an experience, that. But even for cooking, so would you have certain tips for people, like if you have to create something, how to go about doing things, or forget about how you do it, do
I think
something.
it's more like an experience. As you said, I think it's an experience. Like tomorrow, I think cooking is a great way to. It's I think cooking. How to explain it? Like food is the only way where you will be relaxed. For example, if you're going to a holiday, okay, you've checked into a great five-star hotel or 7-star hotel, you will have your whatever, but you will always talk about what I'm gonna have for breakfast,
Oh yeah,
what will be for lunch, what will be for dinner. So it's always about food. I think
that's true.
taking that as a thing, I think you should celebrate that. You should be cooking with your loved one. It's like an event. Like rather taking your family out for a dinner, I would say at least once a month you should be cooking with your family.
Right.
That's a great bonding exercise. And that way, in a restaurant, you will just eat, you will maybe talk, you will sit at one spot, and that's it. In cooking, I think you are involving, with your hands. You're teaching your kids how to, knead a dough, or how to bake a cookie, or how to make a mess out of it. There's a lot of fun which
Correct.
is there.
And you can experiment, like
You can
saying
experiment a
ice cream
lot.
with
Like
curry. I mean, it's like you can experiment. End of
you
the
can
day,
experiment, get your hands dirty, make
the
sure you're
creative.
spending maybe a Sunday afternoon with your kids or with your loved ones, cooking at home. Yeah. After that, of course, there are a lot of tips you need to follow. There are a lot of cool recipes on the YouTube, of course. Now there's the AI which is handy with your WhatsApp and with your,
Oh yeah,
on your
that's
phone. You can check with AI. That's a very easy thing, by the way. Yeah, I'm not sure like how much.
Was it gonna help you give those recipes
They
with
do,
local
yeah,
ingredients?
yeah.
Because
You can do it
typically,
right now. Like
yeah,
yesterday, I was just checking like sourdough. The entire thing came up. The whole recipe, blah blah blah, how to bake, how to rest, everything. So AI will make everything easy, but not of that level, of course. When you go out to a restaurant, and that experience is different.
that's
But
of course
but you
different.
should definitely use AI as a tool to enhance the cooking experience at home. That, and that should happen.
That should happen.
That
That's
should
a great,
happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
one should do, because it'll also give you those, local ingredient alternatives. Because typically the cool recipes you see have all those, ingredients which probably it's very hard to find.
No, it's always, I think we have almost forgotten how to go out to a market and buy vegetables,
That is so
because our
true.
maids do that. Initial days, your mothers used to do it. I
All the
used to go
apps
out with
now.
my mothers, yeah. I think you should be little handy now, and it's okay. At
Feel the texture,
once
hold
a
it.
month, once in 15 days, you should be going out with your vegetable whatever
Right.
bag and just go out and see what's happening.
Hmm.
Not in the scorching heat, of course, and not in 53 degrees in summer, but at least at some point of time when the weather is nice,
Hmm.
you should be indulging in such activities with your family. It's always good to be hands-on. It's always good to be, touching the vegetable and feel it.
All right.
The
It's
how's the
part of the whole
tomatoes.
experience.
Yeah, and then you come back and just cook. Not for the chefs. It should be for everyone.
Hmm.
Like which I realized when I was all alone during COVID, because at one point when you're running a restaurant, you almost don't cook every day, right? But
Right.
during COVID, I realized cooking is actually a therapy.
It is.
It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
therapy. Like I was all alone during COVID, and my days, I used to plan my days in a way like today I will be doing something Chinese. At the same time, I will search for a Asian series on Netflix. So it's like creating my own experience at home.
Right.
Like if I'm cooking Chinese, make sure I'll be also watching something, the K drama, whatever, whatever.
Right.
If I'm watching Indian, then I'll have
That's the
I'll
whole
maybe
experience at home. It's
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
because you have to make yourself, you have to feel that you're doing something. It's not like you woke up in the morning, you
Right.
just
It's not a. It's not a chore. It's a.
exactly. You
Right.
should enjoy the whole process. Then I realized, no, yeah, it's so fun.
Hmm.
I keep telling my mom, like I stay alone in Delhi, and my parents keep visiting. They always are worried, like how you're staying alone.
Hmm.
I'm not married, I'm single. How you're.
Hmm.
I love alone. I love living alone. Like I keep giving them the example. Like during COVID, that was the best time. Like for me, because I was all alone. I was cooking. I was planning my whole thing. I was cleaning my apartment by myself. So it was really fun. Then I
It is
realized,
therapy for
yeah,
sure. Like for example,
one should definitely do this once a month. Now, of course, we are back to normal
Right.
life or whatever. It's a lot of fun. I think
It is,
it
and
mentally
it is
it gives you a
therapeutic
lot
as
of
well.
peace.
For example, I make my own chai every day. I like to, even
Lot
if
of
somebody else
peace.
can make a great one. I think the whole process of making that chai, I think that gives me that satisfaction more than drinking that
Yeah, it's a
cup of
way
tea.
of living also, like, which I realize now, like, if I make my own bed, I think I feel
Yeah.
little that I've done something in the morning,
Right.
like
Yeah,
with
those
your own
little
hands.
accomplishment.
It makes sense. It makes
Hmm.
sense.
Okay, my last question, which is a very interesting, not a question. It's more like if let's say you had to run a food truck,
Okay.
let's say in Goa,
This
or we can pick
question
any
is so
place.
nostalgic, by the way.
And
I'll tell you the story.
so, how would you think of the CX?
So, after doing my hotel management, like, there's a phase, like, you have done your college, now what's next?
Hmm.
You applied for your job, etc., etc. One fine day, I was sitting with my friends. This is like 16, 17 years back.
Hmm.
So, I was like, kya karenge? What should we do? Like, we have done a hotel management. I don't know. It was Chandigarh, so there's no good hotels and no F&B
It was
scene.
2006, 2007.
2006, 7, and I applied, outside Delhi, Bombay, wherever. Then one fine day we thought, okay, let's do a food truck. But it will not be a normal food truck.
Wow.
Hum
In
food
2006
truck
you
lenge.
thought about
Yeah.
it.
And literally, I think, yesterday, like last week only, I saw somebody doing a food truck with the seating on top.
I've seen that.
You know,
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
same thing we were discussing 17 years back. And I think few years back, I saw this movie called The Chef.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
seen this
yeah.
movie?
Yeah, I've seen that.
So one fine day, maybe somewhere, maybe in the beach or in the hills, not in Delhi, of course, not in Bombay, not,
Not
in
in this weather.
Bangalore. Yeah, I'm on like a very, like a virgin kind of a space where you'll be doing your own food truck. You can drive down. You have a little 5 seating thing up,
Huh.
and I'm just flipping burgers and that's it. Not like a fine food, but
Huh.
things which is very soulful, like a nice sexy bowls, which is
You
whatever.
control the whole experience.
Yeah,
You like
but I really want to
small
drive. I'm
space.
imagining myself driving the truck on the beach side
right.
or on the hills. Yeah.
Awesome. We will definitely look forward to it. We'll
Let's
find
see.
you probably
Inshallah.
on
When?
on social media somewhere. We'll find you. Thank you so much, Dhruv. It was
It
great.
was
connecting.
amazing. Really-
And I
I really
love all
had a
the
good
conversation,
time.
the insights, and all the little nuances. Which typically, when we go for a dining experience, especially experiential dining, little things which get unnoticed. But when you talk and see, there's so much.
So this talk I usually
Things.
do with my, very close friends when I'm very drunk. This talk is happening when we are sober.
Sober.
I think we should make it very clear. We are sober.
And it's on the record. Cool. Thank you so
Great.
much.
Thanks for having me. I think it was lovely. It was
Likewise,
amazing.
likewise.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great.
Thank you. Thanks. Hope you enjoyed the conversation.